I know you report for Chelsea right now. Have you ever faced any pressure from the clubs or management to alter the stories that you write about?
Oh yeah, listen, if you write about a club and which is sensitive, which is easily one of the best football clubs in the world, they're quite really careful about how they are represented out there. So there are times in stories make the newspapers and they're like, Rahman, you can't say this, or you couldn't have said this, or something like this. And then where did he get this from? They question. They won't tell you to genuinely not write, but they have a way they can speak to you. And I mean, I'm minority. I'm minority in the UK. If you see the way I look straight away, you'd realize that I am minority. So I have to be careful with the opportunity and access I have. But I can also understand the clubs that they are quite really careful about the image they have out there. So it's hand in hand.
My name is Yaw Agyei, and welcome to Life After School. Does school really determine your future? Or that is what we've been told. For years, we've measured success by grades and degrees. But what if life has other plans? In a world where dropouts build empires and top students still struggle, it's time we ask real questions. Welcome to Life After School, the podcast where we explore the truth about education, success, and everything in between. Whether you're a straight A student, a university dropout, or just trying to figure things out, this is the space for you. Let's challenge the system, hear real stories, and also discover what really shapes our future beyond the classroom. Life after school. School ends, but the journey doesn't.
Hi, and welcome to Life After School. My name is Yaw Agyei. So, on the streets of Ghana, if you picked 5 kids and asked them what they want to do in future, maybe you get 2 out of 5 boys telling you they want to be footballers. But in another section, there are other kids who have chosen to tell the football story. I have a gentleman who chose the path to tell the story of football. Welcome to my studios, Rahman Osman.
Thank you, Yaw Agyei, for having me in your studios. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure speaking to you too, Rahman. So, Rahman, in terms of today's conversation, we are going to delve into your academic journey. So, for the viewers who don't know you, if you could do a brief introduction on who Rahman Osman is.
Rahman Osman is a football journalist for The Sun. I'm Ghanaian. I began my career in Ghana, schooled in Ghana, and then I moved to the UK in 2017. Then I schooled at the University of Westminster in 2017 and got a degree because I wanted to be a journalist at some point. But it all didn't start. I didn't start out by wanting to be a journalist. I started out like most Ghanaians by wanting to become a football player. But then the way the structure of growing up in Ghana is that you can barely combine education and football. So parents were quite really intent on me going to school, if that makes sense. And then so I had to go to school, went and started college. So by the time I could grow and become very knowledgeable, I had already gone into the line of school. So then I said, like, well, if I can play, I'll go and try as much as possible to become a journalist. And then after university, I went to University of Ghana actually, studied a degree in agriculture, economics, something like that, agri-economics or something like that. But it's quite good because wherever you have to go, you need a first degree. The first degree gave me an opportunity to be able to apply for a master's. And when I finished my first degree, I was already on television in Ghana because I was quite really good with football presentation and analysis. So I was on television and radio in Ghana, big time, like mainstream television and mainstream radio. But then I came to Talk Sports in 2015 for a 2 weeks training course. And when I did that training course, it was quite really good. I made friends with other people. And when I was going back, one of them said to me, why didn't you move to the UK and study? And I said to them, how can I do that? So it was then one of them, Tom Rennie, who still works at Talk Sports, said to me, you can get yourself into a university. So on the flight back, I thought, oh, what university? So I started, when I got back, I got one of my friends, actually, we both went to Legon together. He started helping me apply for university. So we applied. I think it was Twickenham, Coventry, Westminster, a couple of universities. I'm actually speaking to you from Westminster because I have an alumni card, and yeah, I'm one of the alumni who actually have access to the building, and I sometimes use it to work when I'm working from home. Anyway, the long story is that I got myself into a university. I was making decent money back then, so I sold my car, packed all my money, and then left to for the UK. I was determined to become a journalist, to be honest, and I knew that the UK was quite really competitive, so I had to first get myself educated again. So I went back to uni. And whilst I was in uni, I was pitching stories to national newspapers. The Mirror was my first job. I went to the Mirror. I stayed there all the way till the pandemic. I was with 442 for a while also. 442 is actually a really good football magazine. For me, it's the best football magazine in the world. And they've been quite really good to me. And yeah, I helped set up what is now one of London's biggest websites. It's called London World. And I was one of the first people to set it up. I and a guy called Rafe Blackburn, we set it up, and we scaled it up from 0 to almost 1 million page views now. And then yeah, now I work with the Sun, which is Britain's biggest newspaper. But what I can just say to anybody is that there are no limitations for human beings. It don't matter how you look like or whatever you look like. You have to have a goal and a plan and be willing to work towards it. Like literally just throw everything you have at it. You should be fine.
Yeah. So thank you for going through your journey with me, but I am going to take you back to your early stages. Where did you grow up in Ghana?
So I grew up in Accra. I don't know if you know Newtown, Kotobabi, Newtown. My dad had a house in Kotobabi. So I went to a really poor school at the beginning. It was called Teacher Adam. It was quite really basic. There was nothing flashy about the infrastructure. It was just quite really basic, and it was like a community school. Then at some point in time, I left. My mom changed me to a school called Providence, which was kind of an upgrade of where I was, but still nothing flashy. And I was quite good. At the beginning, I was really good. I think we did 10 subjects: English, maths, Ghana, social studies, religious studies, pre-tech. And there were a couple of them, about 8 to 10 subjects we did, and I was quite good in about 7 of them. So I got myself into Salah College. I made really good grades. So, and I wanted to go to Saddle. And my dad said to me that the only choice he had to, the only reason he would let me go to Saddle is if I studied science. And I didn't like science, but I liked to go to Saddle better. So I said I would do the science if that got me into Saddle. So I went to Saddle College.
Yeah. So for a kid growing up in a place like Kotobabi, being a smart kid, as in an academic smart kid in an area like that, how are you viewed amongst your peers, where your peers are looking to do other stuff apart from school, and you being that kid who likes his books?
You see, I mean, intelligence is relative. Could say I was quite good because maybe I didn't go to a really world class school. Maybe what I thought was good. If I went to Martin de Porres or Achimota School or those really massive schools, then maybe I would meet people with different IQs and their knowledge and understanding would be totally different. But I was good in my Saito school, which was quite decent. But when I went to Sada College, I met people that were quite really maybe better, 100 times better than me. So I became like average. I was just in the middle of the class. But I was quite good with sports. When I spoke about sports, most of my colleagues believed what I said. I remember when I was on Atsada, I became sports perfect. And that was partly because I was quite really good with sports. And I used to use all my money to buy 90 minutes. At that time, there was the best
the newspaper.
90 minutes. Money that I should have used in spending or eating, I would just buy 90 minutes newspaper and I would read it, and most of my friends would read it. So that's essentially how the passion grew, talking about football, football and stuff like that. Other kids were, as you would know, had a lot of other kids with different passions, some music, some acting, some engineering. It was kind of different, but it was good because it was a competitive environment and the school was good. It was high class and it did push me. I've been to so many places after that. But I'll still say Atsada was the best place I've ever been because that shaped my foundation. It made me understand rejection. It made me understand how people thought about the world. And
So let's move from Adsado College to University of Ghana, where you were studying in a grade. And from your earlier submission, you had mentioned that even while in school, you were working as a sports
Yeah.
journalist, right?
Yeah.
How did you combine your classes and working as a sports journalist?
Nah, it was mad, man. Legon was tough. You know, the funny thing is, like, in my time, like everybody wanted to go to university, so it didn't matter the course you did. You just had to go into university because if you didn't go into uni, it was like you were a disgrace to your parents, if that made sense. So I didn't care. I wanted to go to um Legon, so I got Legon. I think I first got distance education. There was a distance education program. Um, I got that, and then my dad didn't mind. The course was quite good. I think social or something. That only meant that I didn't have to study too much to be in it. But with that, you can't be on campus. So I think Agreg was kind of a difficult course. So most people didn't want it. So they still had space to pick people who had gained admission but wanted to change their course. So I think I went for it. It wasn't for passion or anything. I just literally wanted to be a student of the University of Ghana. So that's when I went. But luckily for me, when I went level 100, I knew I didn't like it, to be honest. I wanted to pursue a different career. So what I did was I had to juggle my passion and the degree and make sure I don't leave any of them. So I had friends. 90% of the time I wasn't in class. I was always out working. I was already working, as you know. So I missed a lot of lectures. But luckily, I think I was just quite okay. I wasn't like most brilliant, but I was just quite okay. So I wouldn't make an A, but I would make sure I didn't have to trail a paper or resit a paper. So that was just, it's incredible luck. If I was very poor, then I wouldn't have graduated. But
Yeah.
I was just okay. I was okay enough to just pass my papers, so I didn't have to trail and still be able to work. So what really affected my grades is that in Legon they mark attendance and sometimes you miss an IE and stuff like that. So I always had C's and sometimes D, but I didn't get to that level where it was an outright fail. So that's thank God
Okay.
for that. That's
Okay.
how
So
I was able to go through 4 years at University of Ghana.
yeah, I see you speak about it with excitement. So with Ghana being a country which isn't subsistent when it comes to food production, we are not able to feed ourselves as a country. How do you think government or even educational institutions, how do you think they'll be able to model agric to become that course that children or people who are coming out of SS high school would want to pursue?
Um, I just think that they should be able to publicize agriculture in a way where people understand that it's the real way. I need to mention John Dumelo. I think John Dumelo is a brilliant example of what agriculture is. He's a very successful actor. He's a very successful politician. He's in parliament, but he's always been hitting home the fact that the main deal out of poverty is agriculture. And I have to say that most countries that have succeeded have produced their own food, have manufactured their own stuff. And I think one of the reasons why we're lacking as a country is because of the fact that we almost import everything. We literally even import toothpicks. Like chickens that have been in Europe for years will just get imported. Like, why do we have to import chicken? It doesn't make sense. So there should be a conscious effort to condition minds of young or the next generation to understand that engineering is good, being a doctor is good, being a pilot is good, but being an agriculture engineering student can also be very good. And I get it. We need to stop this mentality of constantly punishing people. Or if you want to punish students when they are young, you need to take them to the farm or give them a cutlass. It's not a punishment. People should be able to feel that they love it. I didn't love it, but I can see that there was so much potential there. If I had passion for it, I would have gone into it. And I probably would do. There are things about agriculture that are incredibly mind blowing, especially if you do livestock and you study how animals reproduce and the kind of profit you can make from just having a few animals and when they reproduce, the profit that it makes. And for people who want to live quiet life and lives outside the main city, you could never go wrong with agriculture.
So let's go into your career now. The stuff that you are really passionate about, which is football and in general sports, right? You mentioned that you were pitching stories to newspapers in the UK. So when you say you were pitching stories, was it that you weren't employed, but you actually took your stories to them so that they got to know how good you were?
Exactly. It's breakthroughs are different.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing is that you need to offer stuff to people that they can't get. If you want to have a breakthrough in music, you need to have a song that in a rhythm where most people don't have that kind of songs, or their lyrical dexterity or elasticity is not the same. It's the same thing. If you move to a new country, if you went to the US and wanted to become a basketball journalist, you needed to be able to approach the New York Times or the Blazers or whatever newspaper you wanted to, and offer them a story that they can ordinarily not get. My breakthrough story at the Mirror was a story about Mohamed Salah. When I moved to the UK in 2017, Salah had also just moved from Roma to Liverpool, and I was quite good as a journalist in Ghana, so I have contacts in Africa, and so I reached out to people in Egypt, and I did
Egypt.
a really good story about Mohamed Salah, and I reached out to John Cross, who is currently even the chief football writer for the Mirror, and I said to him, "I have this story, you don't have it. It's a really good story." They said, "Okay, you have my attention." Gave him the story. He was like, "That's a really good story, but I'm not going to make a decision. I'm going to pass you on to my boss." So his boss was a guy called Mike Allen. I think he's retired now. So Mike then looked at the story and was like, "That's a bloody good story. It trails Mohamed Saleh's journey from Egypt to the rejections he had when he went to Europe and all that, and went to Chelsea, did work up and stuff." So it was a really compact story of it. It made it into the newspaper. It was a big deal. So what I did was that I said to them that, "Listen, I really like that you guys want to pay me for this story, but I'm a student at the University of Westminster and I'm looking to do an internship. Part of my course at my degree at that time was to do an internship. So if you could take this as an opportunity to give me an internship at the Mirror would be great." And I said this with the intention because I wanted to make a breakthrough. I really wanted to break into it anyway. So yeah, I kind of just, yeah, I did that, and yeah, he laughed. I remember Mike laughing. I was like, "You know what? Yeah, I'm going to give you that internship, but I'm still going to pay you." I think they paid me about £500. That's a lot of money back then, especially for a student.
Yeah.
So that was my breakthrough. I went into the office. Then they were in a place called Canary Wharf. It was a massive building. I'd never seen
Mhm.
a newspaper being such
Anything
a
like
building.
that?
It was massive, really
Yeah.
massive. Yeah, this was somewhere around 2018. And listen, there's an opportunity in life. Like there's a time in life where opportunity meets preparation. It was just around the World Cup in Russia in 2018. So they had a lot of writers go to the World Cup. So I went in as an intern. I was quite really good. I was head on. I go in with stories. I'll write up stories. I could quickly turn around stories. So it was a lot of things I was doing at the same time. So by the time my internship was over, there was opportunities for me. I met people. I created contacts. People got to know who I was and how I worked and how passionate I was and stuff like that. So then I got a job through that. I was always in the papers, writing about it. So essentially, that's it. There's no magic to it. That's what happened.
Okay. So in terms of print media in Ghana, right? You mentioned 90 minutes, and this was a time where we would stand at bus stops trying to see what the newspapers say. There came a time where there was Kotoko Express. There was I've forgotten which one was for Hatsufo. But now I see that print media, especially in terms of sports in Ghana, is taking a nosedive. Would you say that sports reporting is moving away from print media?
But yeah, it's got nothing to do with Ghana. I work in, like I said, the Sun is maybe the biggest newspaper in Britain, just not just England, but Britain. And I'll tell you one thing: pre-COVID, I think the Mirror used to sell around 4 million pages a day. 4 million. 4 million. Today, they would be happy to sell 1 million. Yeah. So what it tells you is that the consumption of news has changed. Twitter or X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the world is changing. 7 years ago, when I moved into this country, not many people knew about TikTok. And now TikTok is easily one of the greatest promoting tools in the world. So the people that survive in reporting and whatever is basically down to those who adapt. if that makes sense. You have to be elastic. So you can make a point and say, okay, Kotoko Express, 90 minutes, find that whatever are dying. But the truth is that as people grow, their attention span and the things they find interesting change. Nobody in this world essentially is like lives forever. Time changes it, and times have changed. The example I gave you is just sums up the answer to your question. Pre-COVID, Mirror used to sell around 4 million newspapers a day. I'm telling you today, they will be happy to sell 1 million.
So, three more questions for you. So let's speak about have you ever faced any pressure from clubs, fans, or management to alter your sports reporting? So, for example, I know you report for Chelsea right now, have you ever faced any pressure from the clubs or management to alter the stories that you write about?
Oh yeah, listen, if you write about a club and which is sensitive, which is easily one of the best football clubs in the world, they're quite really careful about how they are represented out there. So there are times in stories make the newspapers and they're like, Rahman, you can't say this, or you couldn't have said this, or something like this. And then where did he get this from? They question. They won't tell you to genuinely not write, but they have a way they can speak to you. And I mean, a minority, a minority in the UK. If you see the way I look straight away, you'd realize that I am minority. So I have to be careful with the opportunity and access I have. But I can also understand the clubs that they are quite really careful about the image they have out there. So it's hand in hand. Clubs can deny you access if they feel that some of your reports are creating them in bad light. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. If there are some big time journalists who beg so far they can take on clubs and stuff like that. If you're kind of young, everybody in the power they have, clubs will always say that no, we don't do that. But believe me, they kind of have a way they can be able to kind of sabotage if they wanted to.
Okay, so that could pass off for a sports cold war. Let's go into the proudest moment you've covered as a sports journalist. What would that be for you?
Oh, bro, I don't know because I've had so many apps, isn't it? I mean, like I said, if when I was young, if you gave me a chance that one day I'd be writing for the Sun from where I came from, like literally from nowhere to working with the biggest newspaper in Britain and like being outstanding in it and standing up, it's crazy. I sometimes always say to my colleagues at work, it's a privilege to work here. I say it with pride. I say to them, if you look at where I come from and the stories I tell and how I tell my stories and the places I've been, it's for me it's a dream. Work is taking me to the desert to watch football. I was in Qatar in 2022, and like if somebody said I've made a living, I've made a living through watching Chelsea play. If somebody said to me that you're going to grow up and have a career just watching football and getting paid for it and writing for, I would have taken that. So it's tough to say, okay, this or that. Nah, man. A lot of people say to me, go on, like do something different. And I'm like, yeah, I will do, but I'm not somebody who is pushed so much about just making money because a lot of people, Bob Marley said this, that a lot of people are so poor, all they have is money. But you need to live life. You need to grow a lot of experiences. You need to tick off the boxes of things you want to do. And I guess the proudest thing I do about my life is I live my life doing what I want to do instead of just doing something because I want money.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, in the Ghanaian, in Ghana, actually, sports betting is big. It's practically the second source of income for Ghanaian youth. And sport betting is tied to football. So if you were to be speaking to Ghanaian youth, I know you are not a moral authority, but if you were to be speaking to Ghanaian youth on sport betting, what would you say to them?
That's a tough one, to be honest. Sports is fueled by betting. The people with the big monies are betting companies. If you pay attention to the sporting landscape, most of the big
Sponsorships.
positions and sponsorships are always coming from betting. And I mean, because I'm Muslim, religiously, that is totally off the door. But yeah, it's kind of tough for me to say what others think because we need to. What I can say is that we need to create more ladders for young people to be able to climb, and get success, and earn sustainable income and stuff like that. We need to do more. I know that most people who bet in Ghana do so because they just want to be able to get money to buy food and stuff like that. So
That's true.
it's kind of
That's true.
totally different from those who have a betting addiction. Um, yeah, it's a really tricky question, but I think that as society we can do more and caution people about responsible betting.
Okay, so two things. Your last words to any young person who is dreaming of pursuing sports journalism as a career, and if you were to be looking back and speaking to Rahman at maybe 12 years, what would you say to Rahman at 12 years?
Ooh, Roman at 12 years is just to be Roman again, take more risks. Don't have regrets, like literally. I've lived like, man, when I arrived in this country, I had a backpack behind me. I don't have any regrets. Bro. I went to a really good schools. I've come from Newtown to Adsada College, from Adsada College to University of Ghana, from University of Ghana to University of Westminster. I've worked for some of the biggest newspapers that in the world. Raman, the young Raman will be pinching himself. I get respect when I go into spaces in my industry. People know me. People in my industry understand my worth and the kind of work I do. So I'm fine. And my final message to anybody watching and the young people is that just have this in mind. Whatever you do, whatever you're not changing, you're choosing.
It's been a pleasure speaking to you, Rahman Osman, today. And thank you for joining the podcast. I had wanted to mention Black Stars' chances in the upcoming World Cup, but I'll let you go now. And hopefully we get to speak another time. So to my viewers at home, I just had a conversation with Rahman Osman, who reports for the Sun newspaper in the UK. So for every kid who is in Ghana dreaming to go into sports journalism or telling the story of football, go into the world and dream big. Till another time, thank you for watching Life After School.